Welcome to the Watchers podcast. We have Adrian, AD,
And
LD,
LD.
LD. So last time in our discussion, we were talking about relationships. Adrian, can you please quickly give us a little summary and then we can go into what we're going to talk about today?
Yeah, we were talking about how do we know if someone is the one?
Yes.
Yeah, and the things that we have to look out for to see who's the one, and the things we have to look out for to see who isn't the one, the things we have to see within ourselves, because we generally see the one because we project how we feel onto other people and see them as the one, and it might not be.
Yeah.
So we went deeply into that. Some of the reasons why people make mistakes and believing that somebody is the one, how we have encountered people in life that could have been the one, but it didn't work out for some reason or the other. We might even go into examples of that now, like in this chat. And what is the topic for this one, continuing on from that?
Is when to know when to leave.
When to leave.
Exactly, because sometimes we cannot make that mistake thinking someone is the one and they end up not being the one. Anytime we enter into a relationship, we don't go in thinking, I want this to end. That's not what the aim is, as we've said before. But when it reaches a point and you get to know more about the person, because we've both been in relationship at the beginning, how do we feel? Honestly, at the beginning, we feel so like energized, refreshed. There is something new happening. I will give you a call on the phone and I'm like, oh, we went here, we went to eat. It was really nice. Then it's like, how are you? It's going well. In fact, sometimes you don't even have as much time to talk because you are busy in this new relationship.
Yeah.
And then another phone call comes and said, oh, bro, I want to talk to you about this. Did this seem a bit selfish? Oh, this happened today. I'm not sure. And you're like, oh, give it time, give it time. And as time goes on, you begin to think, wait a minute. This might not be the person I thought it was after all.
Sometimes it's too late.
Boy, oh boy, sometimes is it too late? Because talking about relationship, we just want to cover all angles as well, because some people don't just enter relationships. Sometimes people enter into marriage. That's a relationship in itself. Obviously, we have other sorts of relationships. So some principles can help working relationship, contracts, business, those kind of things. Some principles still remain the same. But what on earth do you do when you reach that stage? And I'm going to make it a bit more difficult. When the person is so attached to you, when the person is so needy, and you reach the point where you think, I need to leave the relationship. Now, if we're being honest, the kind of personality you and I have is the personality where we care about people. We care about how people feel. In the past, I've been in situations where I had to break up. Now, some people are amazing at breaking up. They'll be like, this is not for me. No, I'm out. Yeah. And then guess what happens? They end it. Now, with people like me, and I know there's millions of us out there who are similar, they say, yeah, it's over. And then they start
tears.
Yep.
And then you feel bad and guilty.
Yep.
And you feel like, oh no, that I need to stop this person from being sad. And then your nurturing side kicks in. And then you try to nurture, and then you're back in the same loop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's funny, because I've been in situations where I'm ending a relationship, but then I still want to be the person who helps them recover from the breakup, which is like impossible, because I'm thinking, there's times where I've ended the relationship and then I'll message them and say, I hope you're okay today.
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't have sent a message in the first place.
Exactly. And that's dangerous, because if you come upon a narcissist, they know that. Yeah. So they know this person is very caring. So they know it's like a baby. If a baby knows they can manipulate you, it'll be like, oh, I want the crisp, and it's pretend to cry. Yeah. And then you'll be like, oh, okay. And you get the crisp and you see the baby go, he fell for it. So it's that.
It's true. It's true. It's I was going to say this is what I want to ask you though.
Yeah, ask away.
Have you personally been in that kind of situation before where you don't end properly when
I've
it's
been in
time
that.
to
I've been in that situation almost all of my relationship life. Up
rust?
until it took me a long time to realize. It took me a long time to realize what was going on, and it took me a long time to understand what was going on within myself. Because if you don't know yourself, if if you don't know who you are, you just continue living life making the same mistakes.
Yeah.
Because you don't know. Yeah, I've done that many times. I've been caught in long. I've wasted years. I've wasted years. Because I've how can I put this? There've been times where I know something's wrong. I know something's toxic, but whoever's in front of me, they also know me very well. So they know what buttons to press. So they know that I respond. It's like I said, like a baby. If a baby knows that you respond to it crying, yeah. Have you ever seen children that get spoiled? They know that all they have to do is have a tantrum, and the parent will go, okay, 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 and you're teaching that child that tantrum equals what he wants.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
get what you want if you do that, isn't it?
Yeah, and I've seen, yeah, I've observed like children have a tantrum, and then when they get what they want, you literally see like a little smirk in their face, like, and that's a child. So
I remember
imagine
an experience before where you saw someone do that, like a little child. You're like, did I just see that micro expression?
And they saw me seeing them, and they're like, and I was like, I saw you. I saw.
You see everyone, don't you? You just observe it.
Yeah, but
you are. Yeah, go on.
But the thing is, it's easy to see from the outside looking in, but if you're inside, it's hard to see. So if you're in a relationship and your emotions are involved, you can't see those micro expressions. You can't see because you are enamored. Your feelings are
exactly. And this is where it gets interesting because the person you are with has gotten to know more about you in a relationship, knows that you might be a bit of a kind person. So when it comes to leaving, they're like, yeah. Because there was one time I ended a relationship with someone and they thought it was all right to just come and see me at my place of work, to come and ask me why we're not together anymore. Technically, on paper, that you shouldn't be doing that. That's like where I'm working. That in itself is crazy. Yeah. But that's because even though I had said no, even though I've ended the relationship, my body language, my way of doing things is like, yeah, he's probably weak. So ending it that way is wrong
and
compared to experience.
Yeah, of course. And it kind of like in that kind of cycle, even though you can sit back, or we can sit back and say and try to explain why it happens and it makes sense, we're still culpable. We're still at fault. Because I can say, like, for instance, I can say I'm a kind person, yeah, and I can say, let's say there's a homeless, somebody that's homeless, and you know for a fact that they use the money for drugs, right? And but your whole being, you just know, like, but I can't say no to this person. They're homeless. You give them money, even though technically that's not wrong because you are so kind. You're still culpable in this cycle. Yeah. So even like when we with our past relationships, when we would say no, and then we would see the person be sad or cry or whatever, and then it triggers in us to see if they're okay. Are you okay? But then that sends a message to them, oh, this person still cares. Or if they have ulterior motives, they go, got him, he's still responding, a way back in, right? And let's be real. In those days, there was a part of us as well that was addicted to the attention, even though we knew this wasn't for us. But it's like being poor for so long, right? And then you get a job but the job isn't necessarily legal. And you have to use your conscience and say, I can't do this. Yeah. But then when you say no, the problem is you're going from having money out of nowhere to then having no money again.
Yeah.
So then you might subconsciously go to the job and like, hey, everything cool? You know, like you want a little something done, just give me 10, you see what I'm saying? So we're culpable too, but as you grow, you understand, you realize you got to put your foot down. You got to also question your own like desires and motives as well. And and grow from there. You've grown, you're now married. I am growing, yeah. But at least we acknowledge our journeys as codependent people, as people that have gone through life craving that thing.
It's very interesting. And the question is there anything as letting someone go gently? Because sometimes when you're in this situation and you want to end, you're thinking, because sometimes before you end a relationship, you probably know weeks, sometimes months before, that this is not going to work out. Now, there are ways of doing it. But is there a best way of breaking up? Is there really a good way of breaking up? Saying, okay, I'm going to let them go slowly.
Nah.
Or I'm just going to put a stump to it. And
it depends on who's in front of you. Yeah. So first things first, if you are two mature people and if you're two emotionally mature people, if things aren't working, both people will know. And both people will come together and talk. One person might like the other more than the other, yeah? But you will come together and talk. I've had scenarios in my life where I realized that things weren't working, and I spoke to an emotionally mature person, told them it's not working. Not entirely because it was their fault. There was a lot of reasons for me. I wasn't ready. Yeah. And there were things that just wasn't clicking. I wasn't ready. Yeah. And that person wanted to keep trying, and that was fine. Right. But what I respected about that person is that we could talk and I can express myself and say, listen, this is what's going on. Right. And that person will look at me and say, I know exactly how you feel. I've been there before. I've been through that journey. I get it. You know what I'm saying? And they'll be like, okay, cool. You come to a conclusion. And it's not to say that they're not gonna still want to talk to you and stuff, because feelings are feelings. But they understand, you can be open, so on and so forth. They respect, what you're saying and how you feel. And they might want to not give up, but they go, okay, I respect how you feel, right? So it depends on the person that's in front of you. And there have been scenarios where like somebody is extremely toxic and you're trying to be open and they just ignore you.
100%.
Completely ignore you.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess it depends on who's in front of you, because there are some people who be like, because I've also been in situations where I've been able to end respectfully. So if I was even to bump into the person, it's not going to be overly awkward because it didn't work out. Too mature people, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then if you get the person who is toxic, it seems to me that there is no way of doing it logically. You have to try and basically end it completely.
And stick to your guns. And the thing is, even there are certain people, and again, this is not just like it's not restricted to partners. It could be friends or whoever. Yeah. Like if you try to be final with it, the person in front of you might then start to be manipulative. Oh, I thought you were this, or I thought you were that. So you're just gonna let me. You see what I'm saying? And because they would know the kind of person that you are. So I always say, right? You mentioned before there are people that can do things easily. Yeah. Because who they are projected to the world has been consistent. Yeah. So when people see them, this person doesn't mess around. So you're not going to test it because you know from the moment you met them to that point, they don't mess around. But let's say there are examples of people who were very soft at heart. If people see that and they see that person, it is hard for them to accept that as time's going on, they become more, what's the word? More,
decisive, maybe.
Huh?
Decisive.
Decisive. Yeah. So what they'll do is they'll challenge the image of you that they know and try to break your decisiveness.
Exactly, because sometimes when you're in the process, like, oh, I thought you really did care. I really did think you were a caring person. This is not like you. Well, listen.
Exactly.
You can't stay the same, can you?
You can't stay the same.
Oh, if something is not right for you, you have the right to walk away.
Exactly.
And it's a kind of decision because sometimes when people are breaking up, they do consult a lot of people. There could be a bit of mistake in that. I mean, it's okay to consult in one or two people, but you are the one who's ultimately in a relationship.
Yeah.
And as much as you could get a lot of advice from people, you also need to be careful because someone doesn't say, yet again, real life examples.
Yeah.
Someone was not good for me. Went to speak to that. It takes one person to make me feel like maybe I shouldn't.
Yeah.
Because the person doesn't, all you've done is described it. Now, the person is thinking, maybe you could work them. Sometimes it's this thing of maybe you could work this out, but you know how much this thing is grinding you down.
Yeah.
And you come back home thinking, okay, you know what? Let's give you another try.
Yeah.
2 weeks into it, boom, same feeling comes back. So you personally need to know as well.
You do.
So sometimes before telling someone, you should say, look, this is where I'm going. This is what I have done. And so, cool, because sometimes relationships can be complex and it's not everything you can explain to someone to get the picture.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's been times where you've called me to describe certain things and sometimes you can't really describe it. It's like, it's going to sound really basic, but because sometimes when you are in a relationship, the little things that people don't see, like you might be in a room with a person and it's someone that you really know well is acting really off, but no one sees it.
Yeah.
And then in the end, they're like, I didn't see that. What were you on about?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's the same when you're in a relationship because you know all the behaviors and it's like, no, it's like, it could be as simple as, did you notice that she didn't offer me anything? It's like, no, dude, she was friendly. Everything was, it's like, no, didn't you notice the way she was treating me? It's like, but only you know.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful when
because,
ending.
Go on. You got to be careful. Sorry, got to be careful.
I've made the point.
Oh no, I didn't. I thought you had finished.
Yeah.
Like no, like so because when you are in close vicinity to certain energies, you pick up more. Again, it's being within the bubble. If you're outside the bubble, you don't see some things. But if you're in the bubble, you pick up a lot of energy signals and a lot of like mannerisms and stuff. But to you, what you were saying, there's also the flip side of the coin. Yeah, when you're in something destructive, and everybody around you is telling you, dude, what are you doing? Yeah, this is not good for you. Or like, this person doesn't respect you, or this person is using you. And you hear it, but you go, maybe they're wrong. Because even though subconsciously you can tell, here's the thing, right? The reason why you dismiss it is because you don't know what love is. And this is something that I learned growing up. A lot of people have been fed a very toxic and twisted version of what love is. Yeah. So you ever heard people say stuff like, oh, you're not in love unless you argue every day? That's nonsense.
Yeah, I have. I mean, to challenge you there,
Yeah.
you get people who say they never argue. So
Yeah.
I guess that one I don't agree with, but I guess sometimes if you don't challenge each other and think, why did you, then there is no sort of motivation, is there?
Yeah.
But the one that you said I agree with, if you don't
Yeah.
argue a lot, that means you don't,
Yeah, exactly. Or argue every day, or like, or be a certain way that you would see as toxic. And when people say that, right, what they're saying is they've been so used to their childhood and seeing that in their childhood that that imagery in their childhood has skewed them to believe that's what love is, right? So they go through life. There are people out there that get abused, and they say, oh, he just loves me, he just got angry, or she loves me, she's just upset, because their version of love is completely skewed. So then when you get in a situation where people on the outside are looking in, they're seeing it and going, dude, what are you doing? This person is terrible for you. But because you feel like love is you feel like love is somebody giving you crumbs, because you don't believe that you deserve the whole pie. So straight away you believe, if you thought in your mind, oh, if somebody presents me a pie, I'm like, oh no, I don't deserve that. You ran away from it, right? But then when somebody brings crumbs, you go like, yeah, that's love. Yeah. So when people around you tell you, dude, this person is feeding you crumbs, and then they're punching you in the stomach and taking the crumbs out of your mouth. Yeah. And they're feeding you the same crumbs over and over. This is toxic. You won't see it because you're like, yeah, but all you can see is they're bringing me crumbs though. You don't see they should be bringing me a pie.
100%.
So yeah, no, I was just gonna finish off. So on the flip side of what you're saying, people could be trying to warn you and you just don't see, and you continue in the toxic loop until it gets too much, until your body says, dude, you can't survive on crumbs. You're hungry. What are you doing? And then that's when you start demanding a slice. And then that's when they say, why are you so greedy? You were never this greedy before. I'm only asking for a slice, not the whole pie. And then it goes on going, as it continues, you say, no, I want the pie now. And they go like, what? Oh my gosh. You see what I'm saying? And they try to manipulate you back to taking crumbs.
100%. Because as we know, being with someone, they don't have to be completely perfect. But then if you feel like the person is not, because this is one thing I've always said when it came to finding the right person is, do they like to solve problems? So there might be certain things that I don't like about what they've done or I've done. But the reason why I like that quality is because there is potential. There's always potential to for me personally, if that is missing with the person I'm going for, because Ari, let's be honest, sometimes when you're breaking up with people, it's because there's a problem.
Yeah.
And it's like
that can't be fixed. Can't be fixed. Yeah.
Yeah. And it seems like, I know you could both be angry and then there'll be days, but then after a while you're like, okay, cool, now it's time to talk. And then as you're talking, you're like, why are we not getting over this? So as much as you need to try and work on that quality yourself, you have the right to say, I want that in another person.
Of course.
Because that's what makes it last. Because sometimes you are right.
Yeah.
But then sometimes you have to just step back and let go.
Yeah.
It's not every single point that you need to prove.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, I'll just leave this one out. And when you are both similar in that way of personality, problems are less. It doesn't mean there's never problems, but it becomes less because most of the time you work things out. Like it's part of the relationship, isn't it?
Because you have. Go on. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. No, you can go on before I say it because I might go.
Yeah. I was just going to say that's that emotional maturity. We'll continue.
Yeah. Otherwise, what happens is if you're going into a relationship thinking I'm asking for too much.
Yeah.
And you just go for, you just go for looks as well. And you just go for, because let's be honest,
Yeah.
anyone that we've broken up with, we're not saying that they're the worst person in the world, or they've got some good qualities that we appreciated.
Yeah.
But it's not complete, and this is where it has to be personal. It's not complete until there's another ingredient there that really means a lot to you.
Yeah.
You know, it's weird because one of my criteria is someone who knows life. It might sound like, what do you mean by someone who's experienced a bit of hardships? You know, I might be wrong. It's my personal one, but I know you could challenge me after I finish. But
no, yeah,
I like to feel like the person is a bit aware of life.
yeah. I don't disagree with you. I agree fully. All I was gonna say is, there are a lot of wolves in sheep's clothing. There are a lot of people who pretend not that they don't know life. They know life, but they know life to snag is a trap. Have you ever seen in the animal kingdom? You would have a snake that the head is colored like a flower or something, or a chameleon that looks like a branch. And let's say that camouflage is life. The person knowing life. So when an insect comes close, or an animal comes close, eaten. And the insect is like, what the hell? I thought that was a branch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So sometimes you got to test those things. Because there are people out there like, oh yes, I know about life and this and that, and I've been through stuff. But there are people out there that know about, here's the reality. There are people out there that know about life and have been through stuff, and it's turned them cold inside. But if you notice, people cannot present cold to the world because then they'll be rejected. So they have to pretend to be warm because they want interaction.
Exactly.
So if you're a cold person and you want to get with a partner here, you can't just come to the person and be cold, because you're not gonna get anywhere.
No.
So you got to be like, hey, life, I love. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you gotta scratch that surface.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I agree with you, but I also feel that has been the trap as well, because you mentioned before how in the beginning, how things are euphoric and stuff, but they're euphoric because the person matches you, right? You don't get caught up in something with someone unless there's some kind of connection.
Exactly, because the beginning is always sweet. Even if you've always eaten chips, when you go out with them and you eat chips with them, it's like the most amazing thing you've ever had in your life.
Yeah.
So, but then when everything settles,
it's
like, what is left?
And that is why I think the mistake we make is when we see the thing, like for instance, you said the person has to know about life. So let's say I met someone, let's say I have the same thing, right? And I will be more connected to someone who understands life. Let's say I met someone and on the first day of meeting them, all they're talking about is life and the things going on in the world and how it's sad, You know what's the mistake we make? We rush. Oh my gosh, this person knows about life. You know what I mean? Let's court more, let's go on dates more. Within a week, you're like this. Within 2 weeks, you're together. Yeah. And then what happens after 2 weeks? The mask comes off.
Mask off.
Which is what you gotta take time. You gotta take so you go, oh, you like life, cool, let's converse, let's be friends, give it time, give it months, because you cannot maintain the same thing, you cannot maintain the illusion for too long. 100%. And you will always see the cracks. You will always see the cracks. Somebody might say something, but because people are observant, you'll always see the cracks and the micro expressions in there. Okay.
All right. Exactly. No. Because what happens is, for those who have the opportunity to observe someone, let's say, because some people meet online, some people meet through friends, some people have long distance relationships. So you don't have the opportunity to observe as much as you can. But for those who are able to observe before, the key word you use there is time. And even that same principle works even if you met someone, you have a long distance relationship, or you met them, through dating websites or that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you are dating that person, don't rush.
Never rush.
But as humans, it's a very difficult thing to do, Adrian, isn't it?
Very difficult. Very difficult because
at the beginning, you go in positive, isn't it? You don't go in negative. You don't go in thinking, yeah.
But it's not only that. Is you go in positive, but you go in hungry as well. That's a problem. I think this is where, like, the blame doesn't lie on the person who's deceiving you. The blame lies on the person deceived. Because, how can I put it? A lot of us go into things as only half of ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And we're desperate to be whole. Yeah. And if you're desperate to be whole, you don't take time, you rush. Yeah. So you go, like, look at interviews, yeah? Mm-hmm. You go to interview and they do like 3 interviews and a test, and it's like, oh my gosh, all of this stuff, all this just for a job. But then the same job probably had a past experience of talking to someone and go, oh, he's a great talker, oh, he knows what he's saying. Come on to the job, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, I met him yesterday. I was at the cafe. He was such a nice guy. Let's have him.
Yeah, and then that guy just wastes your time.
Yeah.
He doesn't know the job. He's a con artist and even steal from you. Yeah. And then like you gotta pay a severance or something, and is a headache.
Yeah.
Or even like driving lessons, driving tests. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like the way they do the tests, there are minors and there are majors, right? Mm-hmm. And you could take all the minors in the world, you could pass every minor, yeah. Mm-hmm. But then you will fail because what? It's two majors. You have to fail, right? Is it 2 majors?
She just had a phone call. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Is it 1 or 2 majors?
I don't remember because I haven't done it in a long time.
Yeah, but it doesn't take much, right? Mm-hmm. So you can have 5 minors, 6 minors, and it's fine. Yeah. But if you have 1 or 2 majors, you fail.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is those majors can kill you or somebody else. So you might think to yourself, but I drove perfectly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they'd be like, yeah, but you failed the major that you failed. If I was to allow you to go on the road, you would kill someone.
100%.
Yeah. So relationships should be the same. Yeah. They make you do the test over and over until you get past those majors.
That's true.
Right? But if you want to get people on the road because it's a shortage of drivers and you go, don't worry about the major, you're going to have pileups.
100%.